Hey everyone, Jay Carpenter, Fahrenheit Advisors here with familiar face, a longtime friend of the Fahrenheit family, Mr. Shawn Boyer. He is the founder and CEO of Go Happy Hub, founder, former CEO of Snag a Job. Shawn, how are you?
Hey Jay, I'm doing great. How are you?
Doing great, hanging in there, and we appreciate you being with us. What's going on at the Boyer house? Give us a day in the life these days of how you're spending your time.
Yeah, well, so we have my wife and I both working from here at the house, and then we have three kids who are 12, 9, and 8 who are doing school from the house. So as most people who are in similar situations can attest to, there's definitely the positives in terms of more family time and eating all the meals together and not running to all the different extracurricular activities. But it also has its challenges too, where my wife and I will both be on a call and our 9-year-old will have a question about fractions, and it's like, hey, hold on, but he's like, but I'm stuck. And so anyway, it's there's again positives to it, and then there are the challenges with it. And then my sister, who lives in LA, just flew in last night. So I think she was one of the 9 people on her flight. So
Wow.
anyway, we made sure she stayed in quarantine for a while.
Yeah, no kidding. Stay safe, and make sure you have Google ready to help with algebra and fractions.
Yeah, that's right. She's smart, isn't she?
So tell us a little bit about what you're doing with Go Happy Hub, what you're doing with hourly workers, obviously a group that has been impacted here in the last few weeks. Give us a rundown of what your company's working on.
Yeah, sure. So what we're working on, well, our mission is to help all workers feel valued and connected. And our specific focus is on hourly workers, the frontline hourly workers. And so we help organizations who have a large majority of their workforce being made up of hourly workers better communicate with those people. And so typically in a world where, let's say you're a restaurant company that has 50 locations or so, the way that you typically communicate with the front line is either never as the organization, or you will email the general managers and hope that they print the email off, hope that they then hang it up in the back of the restaurant, hope then that the people actually read it. And so we give organizations the ability to communicate directly with their frontline employees, and then also allowing them to do it on I need a better word for this, but on a hierarchical fashion, so that regional people can be communicating directly with the people whom they have responsibility for, and so forth, down to the district and then to the local level, so that the team actually even at that local level has the ability to create this sense of camaraderie amongst themselves. And so to your point, Jay, the timing now is such that it's highlighted the need to be able to communicate frequently with your hourly employees. I was just reading a study the other day that 7 out of 10 employees want to be communicated with daily by their employer, and that 63% of them value what their employer is saying and have more credibility, or give more credibility to what their employer is saying about COVID-19 than what they do to the news outlets or even to what the government is saying. And so I think it's just really important for employers to be communicating right now and to be doing it frequently.
Wow. Yeah, absolutely. So obviously not your first rodeo as a CEO and leader. What are some critical things that you try to keep in mind, or you do as you lead an organization, however big, small it is, maybe daily, weekly basis, especially in tough times like these?
Yeah, I think there are 4 things that I'm really trying to hammer on, and as I talk to a lot of leaders of other organizations, both to your point, larger that are highly distributed and even smaller. The first thing I think is the whole Jack Welch saying of over communicate, right? Like at this point, especially, there isn't a chance for you to over communicate about things. And so that's the first thing. And I think, again, back to that study that was just done, that 7 out of 10 people expect to be and want to be communicated with daily. You may feel like that's overkill, but in the employees' minds, it's not overkill. And again, they're looking for you to be that trusted source of information, that you've gone out and curated things, and you're ensuring that, you're communicating the things that they need to know, right? Because there's just so much noise right now. It's hard for people to filter through it. So if you can do that for them and then communicate to them what they need to know, then awesome. I think kind of a sub bullet of that is, if you are a highly distributed organization, so you've got kind of the corporate office, and then you've got, these different regions, districts, and so forth. I think it's important for them to hear from corporate, and I think it's important for them to hear from their local leaders. You've got to have both. And so I don't think you can rely solely upon your local leaders to be communicating. I think they want to hear from the CEO, right? They want to hear from, the head of internal communications or whatever it is, in addition to their local leader, where they may feel freer to be asking questions and things like that. So that would be, kind of number one with sub bullets, 1 and 2. I think the second thing is express your gratitude regularly, right? And you want to do it, yes, in a general way, we're expressing thanks to everybody, but I think you want to find specific examples of where your people are doing things and call that out. Be really specific about it. Call specific people out. And I know that means that certain people may feel like, well, gosh, I did X and Y and I didn't get a shout out. But I think you're better off to make sure that you're calling at least certain things out and certain people out, so that they know that it's genuine, right? Otherwise, it just comes across as kind of this platitude of, hey, thanks everybody, for doing this work where you're getting exposed to people who may have it daily, right? Like that's what's happening in a grocery store. That's what's happening with, these delivery drivers. So anyway, that would be the second thing. I think, the third thing is every organization has a mission statement, right? And now more than ever, there is this opportunity to be able to talk about the instances where your people are living out the mission and making sure that you're bringing that forward to people. So, if you're in the healthcare business, right, and let's say your mission statement is something around, ensuring that everyone has access to adequate healthcare, or you're improving the lives, or, whatever that is, man, you've got a gazillion different opportunities to do that right now. And again, you're going to be calling out specific examples of where your organization is doing that. And, that just gets people all fired up, right? And then the fourth thing is you need to be transparent, right? Like it can't be all positivity quotes. I'm all about, sharing, the uplifting quotes and the uplifting stories and everything. But in your communication, you also need to be transparent, right? And I think you can start to break down that sense of trust and goodwill that you have if it's always Pollyanna, and then the next day a bunch of people get let go, right? Or, whatever it might be. And so I know there's a balance there, but I would say right now, err on the side of transparency more than ever.
Yeah, that's great content there. Appreciate that. And we've talked about communication and leadership and positivity, and the name of your company is Go Happy. And so, what would you suggest to newer business owners or leaders to keep a positive outlook? Although you mentioned it needs to be transparent and it can't just be all qualitative and fluff and kumbaya, but, how do you maintain a positive outlook and transcend that throughout the organization?
Yeah, I think you've got to be really mindful of what you're filling your mind with. Anybody does, but I think especially as a leader, right? And it's easy to just, flip the TV on and hear whatever's being talked about on CNN or, Fox News, or, whatever your go-to source is. And that's not always going to be filling your brain with a lot of uplifting content and, talking about, how are you preparing for when this thing is over, right? And even in advance of when it's over, you've got to be having your game plan together and stuff. And so I think you've just got to be really mindful of where you're getting your content that's filling your brain. So whoever your go-to sources are for leadership, I would go to them. Like I'm a huge fan of John Maxwell and Patrick Lencioni. Those are two that I'm reading a lot right now, just their real-time content, but as well as going back and, reading some of their stuff. And again, I mean, this is God willing, this is going to end, right? And whether it's 10 weeks, 12 weeks, 14 weeks, 18 weeks, who knows what it is, but your people are going to remember how you led them through this crisis, whether those are people who are still working with you right now, or whether that you had to furlough some people or actually lay people off. And so, what we're encouraging people to do is, for any people who you've had to furlough or lay off, write them a handwritten thank you note, right? Like, we're in the business of digital communication, but in my mind, there's nothing that replaces a handwritten thank you note. So if you're a big organization, the CEO of that organization can't send a handwritten thank you note to everybody, but their local leader can, right? Just letting them know, hey, this was a really hard decision for us. I so appreciate what you've done for the organization. I can't wait to work with you again, kind of thing, right? Because when you start to have to hire back again, you don't want to lose those really good people. And if they didn't feel like they were valued and were treated well through that process, and that you didn't keep in touch with them during this whole thing, and that shows then that, well, they really didn't care about me as a person. They just cared about me as being another, cog in the system. I mean, make sure you're continuing to have that open communication with people and showing that you care about them as a person, doing what you can for them whenever you can for them, even if they're not working with you anymore. And, that's going to show them, again, all right, this is a place where I want to be. I understand they had to, make the hard decision so that they could survive through this, and so that I could go back to work for them. But again, make sure that you're continuing that communication.
Excellent. So again, folks, founder, former CEO of Snag a Job, founder and CEO of Go Happy Hub, Mr. Shawn Boyer, providing us some leadership, some communication advice, actionable, tangible advice that we can implement immediately. From everyone at Fahrenheit and from Shawn, stay safe, and we appreciate you being with us. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Jay.